What if I told you that the International Space Station is about to die? For 30 years it has been our home up there, a lighthouse in the Black Ocean. But in the year 2030, NASA will guide it down, through the atmosphere, to splash into the water, forever. So here is the question that keeps engineers awake at night. What comes next? Is it just emptiness, silence, or is it something better? Today we are not just talking about a replacement. We are talking about an upgrade, a revolution. Imagine a place in space where you do not have to be a trained astronaut to visit. Imagine a place where Hollywood directors film movies, where pharmaceutical companies cure diseases, where tourists sip coffee while watching Earth rise. This is not science fiction. This is Orbital Reef, and it is being built right now. Today, we are going to explore the complete story of this incredible project. Let us start with the most important question. Who is building this? Close your eyes and think of space tourism. Who do you see? Jeff Bezos. Yes, the richest man in the world, the man who flies into space on his own rocket. His company, Blue Origin, is the captain of this ship. But he is not alone. Right next to him is a company called Sierra Space. They are the magicians. They are the ones building something that looks impossible, a soft, inflatable home in the vacuum of space. Then, there is Boeing. Yes, that Boeing, the same company that builds airplanes. They are bringing their Starliner spaceship to carry people. And Amazon? Yes, Amazon Web Services is here too. They are providing the cloud, the internet, the brain of the station. There is Redwire, building laboratories, Genesis Engineering, building a spacesuit for one person, Arizona State University building the research. This is not one company building a station. This is an army of the world's smartest people, building a city. Now let us talk about the price tag. You may have heard a number, a very, very big number, $130 billion. That number is not correct. Let me tell you the truth. The truth is even more interesting. NASA did not give Blue Origin $130 billion. They gave them $130 million. Why? Because this is not a government station. NASA is not the owner. They are just a customer. Think of it like this. When you want a hotel room, you do not build the hotel. You just pay for the night. That is what NASA is doing. They are buying tickets. They are buying research space. But Jeff Bezos and Sierra Space own the building. So how much does it really cost to build a private space station? The companies will not tell us. But experts say it is many, many billions. And here is the risky part. If the station is delayed, if costs go too high, the companies lose money. Not the government. This is the bet of the decade. A bet that space can be a business, not just a science project. So, when can we move in? The original promise was beautiful. Launch the first pieces in 2026. Have astronauts living there in 2027. Fully operational by 2028. Sierra Space's CEO, Tom Weiss, was very confident. He said, "We start launching the first elements in 26. But here is where our story takes a turn. Because behind the beautiful renders and the press releases, something started to crack. Meet Brent Sherwood. For years, he was the brain behind Orbital Reef, the head of advanced development at Blue Origin, the man who said, "We will expand access, lower the cost, and normalize spaceflight." But in late 2025, he left, completely. And he was not the only one. Jeff Bezos hired a new CEO, Dave Limp, a man from Amazon, and when new bosses arrive, they change priorities. Reports started leaking, not from official statements, from anonymous sources, people who worked there. They said Blue Origin was moving Orbital Reef employees to other projects. Which projects? The moon. NASA wants to go back to the moon. They need landers. Blue Origin is building a big lunar lander called Blue Moon, and that project is hungry. It needs people. It needs money. So the Reef started losing its builders. And then there is the relationship. In the beginning, Blue Origin and Sierra Space were partners, best friends. But in 2026, reports say the friendship is over. Why? Because Blue Origin wanted to focus on the moon. Because Sierra Space wanted to keep pushing the station. Because money is tight. The companies will not admit it publicly, but the sources are clear. Discussions are happening about how to end the partnership. This is the part of mega projects that we never see. The part they do not put in the press release. The stress, the arguments, the fear that it might all fall apart. But here is the thing. Sierra Space did not wait for Blue Origin to make up its mind. They decided, we will build our own station. They call it the Life Habitat. It is a giant inflatable balloon. When it is packed for launch, it is small. But in space, it opens up. It becomes as big as a 3-story building. And in July 2026, Sierra Space did something amazing. They tested it on Earth. They pumped air inside until it could not hold anymore. And you know what happened? It did not burst until the pressure was 5 times higher than it needed to be. That was the proof. The technology works. Sierra Space is ready. They are not waiting for anyone. So where does that leave Orbital Reef? Is it dead? Not yet. Not completely. Because even with all the delays, even with all the arguments, the world still needs a new home in space. China is building its own station. Russia is talking about leaving the ISS early. If America wants a place in low Earth orbit, it has to be private. It has to be Orbital Reef. Or maybe it will be something else. Sierra Space is talking to other companies now. Other rocket companies, other partners. They say they can build Orbital Reef without Blue Origin, or they can build their own station. Or maybe Jeff Bezos will look at the moon lander, look at the reef, and decide he wants both. We do not know yet. The story is still being written. But let us go back to the beginning, to the dream. Because when you look at the designs, when you see the videos, you understand why people are fighting for this. Orbital Reef is not a tube. It is not a tin can. It is beautiful. It is a ring of white modules connected by passageways. At one end, there is a giant observation deck. A window, but not a small round window, a huge curved window, a wall of glass looking at Earth. At the other end, there is the docking port for the Dream Chaser. That is the space plane from Sierra Space. It does not look like a rocket. It looks like a small space shuttle. It lands on a runway, like an airplane. So imagine this. You are a scientist, or a filmmaker, or maybe just a tourist who saved money for 20 years. You fly to Florida, you put on a blue flight suit, you walk up the ramp of the Dream Chaser. It takes off on top of a rocket. A few hours later, you are floating. You look out the window, and there it is, Orbital Reef, shining in the sunlight, waiting for you. That is the promise. That is what they are building. That is what they are fighting for. So is it worth it? Is it worth the billions? Is it worth the arguments? In 2026, we are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to the moon. The other path leads to this beautiful floating city. Jeff Bezos has to choose. Sierra Space has to choose. NASA has to wait and see. But one thing is certain. The old station is coming down. The clock is ticking. And someone, somewhere, will build the next home for humanity. We just do not know who yet. That is the story of Orbital Reef. A story of big dreams, big money, big arguments, and a deadline that is getting closer every single day. So where does Orbital Reef stand right now? Today, this very moment. Not the promises from 2021, not the renders, the real story. In February 2026, we have more questions than answers, but we also have hard facts, real milestones, actual money moving. Let us look at the scoreboard. In late 2025, something quiet but very important happened. Orbital Reef passed its NASA System Definition Review. This is not a small thing. This is the moment NASA looks at the blueprints, looks at the computer models, looks at the safety plans and says, yes, this design works. This design is real. You can start building. So despite all the drama, despite the rumors of divorce, despite Brent Sherwood leaving, the engineering is moving forward. The station passed the test. It is ready for the next phase. And then there is the money. Remember that $130 million contract from NASA? The one we talked about? It did not disappear. As of 2026, NASA has paid Blue Origin $24 million of that total for completing specific milestones. But here is the new news. In February 2026, NASA injected another $42 million into Orbital Reef. Fresh money, new funding, specifically for subsystem design reviews and life support systems. Think about that. Why would NASA give more money to a dying project? The answer is simple. The project is not dead. It is struggling. It is messy. It is complicated, but it is not dead. Let us look at Sierra Space. They are not waiting for Jeff Bezos to make up his mind. They are building. In July 2026, they will conduct their second full-scale structural test of the life habitat at NASA Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. The first test in January 2024 was a success. The inflatable module burst at 27% higher pressure than NASA requires. That is not luck. That is engineering. That is confidence. And now Sierra Space is talking about something even bigger. They want to launch a Pathfinder version of life as a standalone space station as soon as the end of 2026. Not Orbital Reef, just Sierra Space, their own station, their own timeline, their own destiny. And what about the Dream Chaser? The little space plane that looks like a baby space shuttle? It is real. It is sitting in a factory right now. Its name is Tenacity. It is 30 feet long. It can carry 7 astronauts. It lands on a runway. It has been assembled. It is waiting for its first launch. Sierra Space has already built the first one. They are building the second one. They are building a training academy on Earth, a place where ordinary people can learn to fly to space. This is not a drawing. This is hardware. But let us be honest. Let us tell the full truth. The partnership between Blue Origin and Sierra Space is broken. The sources are clear. The discussions are happening. The employees have been moved. The leadership has changed. Dave Limp, the new CEO of Blue Origin, came from Amazon. He is a businessman. He looks at spreadsheets. He looks at deadlines. He looks at NASA contracts. And he sees that the Blue Moon lunar lander has a customer. NASA wants to go to the moon. NASA is paying for the moon. The moon has a deadline. The moon has penalties if you are late. Orbital Reef? Orbital Reef is a bet, a long-term bet, a risky bet. And when you have to choose between a guaranteed contract and a risky bet, businesses choose the guaranteed contract. So what does this mean for the station? It means the timeline has slipped. Tom Weiss from Sierra Space said they would launch the first elements in 2026. That is now, this year. And we have not seen a New Glenn rocket carry a habitat module to orbit. We have not seen a launch license. We have not seen a public announcement. The 2026 launch date is almost certainly not happening. The 2027 operational date, maybe, but probably later. Probably 2028 or 2029 or later. And here is the bigger picture. Orbital Reef is not the only station in trouble. Northrop Grumman, another company NASA paid to design a space station, has given up. They are not building their own station anymore. Instead, they are joining the Voyager Space and Airbus team to build Starlab. So out of the 4 original NASA-funded stations, one is gone. One is in serious trouble. One is Axiom, which is building a module to attach to the ISS first. And one is Starlab, which is moving forward with European partners. NASA wanted options. NASA wanted competition. NASA wanted multiple stations competing for business. Now NASA is watching its options disappear. But wait, do not close the book on Orbital Reef yet, because there is another player on the field, a quiet player, a powerful player, Europe. In June 2025, the European Space Agency signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Blue Origin and Thales Alenia Space. Thales Alenia is a European aerospace giant. They build modules for the ISS. They build pressurized vessels. They know how to build space habitats. And now they are talking to Blue Origin about Orbital Reef. This is huge. This means the station is not just an American project anymore. It is becoming international. It is becoming a partner of governments. It is becoming exactly what the ISS was, but private. If Europe brings money and technology and political support, Orbital Reef does not die. It evolves. So let me paint you a picture. Not the official render, the real future. It is 2028, maybe 2029. A New Glenn rocket lifts off from Cape Canaveral. On top is a Sierra Space life habitat folded like a tent. The rocket lands on a ship in the ocean. The habitat reaches orbit. It opens. It expands. It becomes a 3-story home. A few months later, another launch. A Blue Origin core module. Then another. A Dream Chaser brings the first crew. They dock. They float inside. They turn on the lights. They check the life support. They look out the giant window at Earth below. And they realize, we built this. Not a government. Not a superpower. A company. A partnership. A team of people who refuse to give up. Will it happen exactly like that? I do not know. Nobody knows. The space industry is full of surprises, full of delays, full of bankruptcies, full of miracles. In 2026, we are standing at the edge of something. The ISS is counting down its final years. 2030 is not far away. 4 years. That is nothing in space-time. NASA needs a replacement. The world needs a destination. And right now, the only serious contenders are Axiom, Starlab, and Orbital Reef. 3 stations, 2 American, 1 international, 1 led by Jeff Bezos, 1 led by a former NASA astronaut named Janet Kavandi at Sierra Space, 1 led by Voyager and Airbus. 3 different paths, 3 different bets, 3 different futures. And here is what makes Orbital Reef special. It is not just a tin can. It is a design philosophy, a human-centered space architecture, they call it. That means the hallways are wide enough, the windows are big enough, the sleeping quarters are private, the exercise equipment works, the food is hot, the internet is fast, It is not a military outpost. It is a hotel, a laboratory, a factory, a film studio, an art gallery, a place where anyone with enough passion and enough funding can go and look at the Earth and feel small and feel big at the same time. The critics say it is too expensive, too ambitious, too late. They say Blue Origin talks too much and flies too little. They say Sierra Space is a subcontractor pretending to be a leader. They say NASA should have just given all the money to Axiom. Maybe they are right, but critics have always been wrong about space. They said we could not land on the moon. We did. They said we could not build the ISS. We did. They said private companies could never launch astronauts. SpaceX did it. So maybe, just maybe, they are wrong about Orbital Reef too. Here is my prediction. Not from a search result, not from a press release, from the story itself. Orbital Reef will not die. It will change. It will shrink. It will slow down, but it will not die. Because the need is too great. Because the investment is too deep. Because the people building it are too stubborn. Sierra Space will not abandon the life habitat. It is their future. Blue Origin will not abandon New Glenn. It is their rocket to orbit. And eventually those two things will meet in space. Maybe not in 2027, maybe not in 2028, but before the ISS comes down, before NASA has to buy tickets from Russia or China, before we lose our permanent home in the sky. So the next time you look up at the night sky, do not just see stars, see a construction site, see welders and engineers and software developers, see Jeff Bezos and Tom Weiss and Janet Kavandi, see 10,000 people working 10,000 hours to build a reef in the Black Ocean, a reef made of metal and fabric and dreams, a reef that will one day open its docking ports and welcome you home. The story of Orbital Reef is not finished. It is being written right now, in boardrooms, in factories, in launch control centers, in the hearts of everyone who believes that space is not the final frontier. It is the next neighborhood, and we are all moving in.